Much better.
Okay. I'm calling the Pownell Planning Commission meeting to order on April 15th, 2025, and it is 6 PM. Start with board member roll call.
Jim Winchester.
Fred Miller.
John Bashy.
David Fowle.
James Farmerwood.
AC Boxer.
All right, we're going to move into board restructure. Do I have any nominations for chair?
I nominate Fred for chair.
Oh,
Any
I'll
seconds?
second that.
Yep.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? And could do a roll call vote.
Yay, Jim.
You abstained, aye, John.
hi, David.
Aye, James.
Hi, Stacy.
Fred, I should have asked, do you want to be chair? Do you accept?
Yeah, reluctant.
Is there
Surprise.
No, you weren't.
do you have any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate John Bushy.
I second it.
Second, yeah.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Can I have a roll call vote for John Bashy as vice chair?
Yes, Jim Winchester.
Fred Miller, yes.
Abstain.
Yes, David.
Yes, James.
Stacy, yes.
All right, I'll hand the meeting over to Fred.
Very good.
We still do clerk or scribe?
You guys can if you want. I take notes during the meeting and do minutes, but if I wasn't here, you might want to do that if you want.
That'd be a third person.
Yeah, you can
The
definitely do
chair.
that, yeah.
Yeah, we could put them in, we have, I lasted the last one, we didn't do it, but
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
only because we already have, minutes are already being done, so.
Right.
But.
Is there any, what's the role of the
It-
clerk?
Basically, if
To take
somebody.
minutes, but since I take minutes, it would just be to take minutes if I wasn't here, but we have it on video, so I can do that, but you can also take notes or.
If it's on video, she can take minutes from the video.
Right,
Yeah.
it's,
It's
if,
just optional, so.
right, if somebody's not here, then we're probably not having a meeting because we don't have, they have to
That's a good point.
technically have somebody here.
Yeah.
You're not here one. Hey,
Taking over, that brings us to approval of agenda.
And we're gonna postpone that. Or, sorry,
Agenda.
yeah.
Yeah.
Approve an agenda before in a minute, we're gonna be taking that minutes of February,
18th.
because it said February 18th, it's supposed to be March 18.
Okay.
So we're gonna take that out before the approval.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that, right?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so,
Stacy?
I have to abstain. I was not there.
Okay, well, just letting you know, we're changing the agenda. It was put down on number 4 for February 18.
Okay.
It's supposed to be March 18, so there was a typo in that. So,
We didn't have a minute, sorry. we didn't
There's a
have
minute.
meeting On March 18th, I messed up the minutes. I overrode them with the wrong minutes, so I have to bring it back with the correct minutes because you guys don't have time to review.
right,
So I have to bring it back.
That was February 18th, but that's a different set. Yeah. It's not a big deal.
so number 4 won't be part of tonight.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, so that brings us back to approval of agenda.
I motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, roll call?
yes,
We just say.
Chester.
Yeah.
Because we have one on there, we can't just, you have to say. name
Ah,
and say
okay.
that.
Fred, aye.
John, aye?
Aye.
James, aye.
Stacy?
Abstain. Okay. You don't have to abstain.
The agenda.
We're not gonna do.
Right.
Yeah, for agenda, you can vote on that.
Can you hear us, Stacy?
No, what did you say?
You can vote on agenda, you just
We
can't.
were approving the agenda, not the minutes.
Okay. So then it would be Stacy, aye. Okay.
Yep.
That brings us to a presentation
Nathan Powell.
Oh.
Oh, there's Nathan.
Huh.
there.
The Western New England Greenway presentation with Nathan Powell.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, I'm here as a representative of the Parks and Recreation Committee. The Western New England Greenway is an existing bike route that runs from New York City up to Montreal, and it runs through Pownell, on sort of what's generally accepted to be kind of the safest biking route from Bennington into Williamstown. And so they reached out to us a while back to talk about traffic stress on different roads and sort of make sure that their route coming through was the safest option at this time. And they have offered to help us put up signage in town to sort of mark this route. And by offered to help us put up signage, I mean they have money available that we can use to help add signage to town for that bike trail. And in doing so, that also frees up space on these signposts for Parks and Recreation to add additional signs for sort of other recreational opportunities in the area. So, yeah, putting signs up for recreation is kind of one of the major priorities that Parks and Recreation has right now. And I think that this project is a really good kind of dovetail for what we're trying to do. And they've been really great in kind of supporting our goals here and being willing to kind of realign their route based on sort of what we think makes sense and where the safest spots are. So hopefully you guys got a chance to read this little recommendation that we sent around, but I think that's kind of the crux of it, is that what we're looking for is for the Planning Commission to, take a vote to sort of committing to adding the Western New England Greenway into the town plan when it's written. And in doing that, that will give us access to this money to help pay for signs. So yeah, obviously the plan is still sort of in process, but yeah, they're really just looking for kind of a commitment from the town that we sort of support the idea of getting people safely through town on bicycles, and that we want to get some signs to sort of mark where those places are so people can find the route. So I guess I just wanted to be here in case folks had any questions or needed any clarity on that recommendation. So I'm happy to answer any questions if folks have them.
Nathan, I think, did you say that there's currently a route through Pownell that is being used?
Well, yeah, so this I've talked with a bunch of bikers in town to try and sort of start mapping out where the places that folks tend to enjoy biking are. And I use that information in talking with folks from the Western New England Greenway to ensure that sort of where they were planning on going was also where folks agreed was kind of the safest spot to go. So the idea is that they already have Pownell on their map of the Western New England Greenway, and sort of a route that goes through along this safe path. What they don't have is just signage to point people in the right direction. So yeah, the bike route already exists in sort of a like colloquial way. When you talk to bikers in the neighborhood, that's kind of where they send you.
Do we know specifically what route?
Yeah, it says in the sheet he gave, right?
Yeah, very briefly. I mean, it's South Stream Road, across Maple Grove to Middle Pownell Road. Then it turns onto Barber Pond and comes down, basically right at Town Hall there. And we can sort of add signage to direct people over to the elementary school and sort of other points in the downtown area. And then from there, it does Route 7 just for a tiny stretch, and then up over Burrington, and then pops out on the other end of Burrington and continues on Route 7 into Williamstown. So one of the things that's really cool about this is that it passes through that same area that the BCRC did their sort of visioning and study on, and a lot of the like biker and pedestrian improvements that they were talking about in there would also benefit this project.
What kind of signage would you propose putting in?
So I'm happy to share this with you. The Western New England Greenway folks kind of have all of these signs designed, and they just recently updated them to kind of match all of the state signage standards so that we can get these signs put up on Route 7 as well, theoretically. So it's a pretty simple sign. If you go into Williamstown, they actually have them up there on.
So they're on metal posts?
Yeah, it's a metal post, like a green sign that's probably a foot tall and 8 inches wide, and it's got a bicycle on it, and it says WNEG, and then there'll be a directional arrow to kind of guide people on where they're supposed to go, and then we can put an additional sign on that same post for other recreational options.
Who would be responsible for the maintenance?
So, sign maintenance would probably be up to Parks and Recreation to manage, and I think that's kind of within our purview. And we're talking about kind of investing further in doing these signs. So I think that I think that's something that Parks and Recreation can handle. Western New England Greenway hasn't said anything specifically about maintenance. And I honestly don't really know how much maintenance there would be once we get them in. But I think luckily Parks and Recreation, gets a little bit of a budget from the town, so I think we can manage that.
One question I have is, as far as endangerment of getting in accidents and stuff like that, what kind of studies have been done on that for this area?
Yeah. So they did a really interesting, they call it like a traffic stress study. So they do a variety of methods of data gathering. A lot of it is sort of publicly available information, I think, that comes from the state. So they're looking at basically they're looking at the width of the road, how wide the shoulders are, and how much traffic is on that road, and sort of using those pieces of information, they can kind of spit out sort of a rating for that road to sort of measure them against other roads in the area. So obviously, Route 7 is that last stretch of Route 7 is really the sort of big problem area. And unfortunately, right now, we don't really have another good option on where to send people. So the hope is that sort of in the process of supporting this project and working on other sort of recreation projects, we can look at, sort of what opportunities might be available to continue to make those roads safer. And they've also sort of reinforced the idea that, like, if we decide that we want to add a bike lane to a different road than the one they're running on, that they are open to sort of monitoring the traffic stress and readjusting their route to sort of match whatever we think makes the most sense to sort of push our goals ahead as well. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility there. But obviously there are some areas that are less safe, and we're hoping that even just putting up the signs will help alert drivers that there are going to be bikers on the road, and even that alone can have some small effect on safety.
All right, because I'm just going to follow up on it.
Yeah.
Because my other concern is that I know that they have like the bike race and stuff like that, and I actually have a video of them riding down the yellow line of the road in front of the vehicles. Then the gentleman that sent me the video was pretty upset about it. You could hear him on the video because they were in the middle of the road, three of them, and they wouldn't let them go by. Which leads me to the same concern that when we tried to put in town riding ATVs on the roads, on the edges, we would put signage up and stuff like that for them. That was shut down based off of those details of they were afraid there are going to be accidents on the roads. That was the bigger concern, and it got shut down due to that. So my concern is based off of some evidence that have seen where they're riding in the road and could cause an accident like that. I don't know how well the town would want this to happen around town. As far as citizens, I think that would be something that I don't think us as a board should be voting on that way. I think we should have something like that go to the town to see what the town people would agree to.
Can I just get clarity? Did you say, Nate, that this bike path from Montreal to New York already exists and is already being used?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it already exists and it's being, different sections of it are being used, more or less largely depending on sort of how accessible those sections are, how well the signage directs people, to those areas. But
So your concern then is if we endorse it, somehow we're taking on some liability?
Potential,
well, so
potentially. It's used in certain areas. They have trails in certain areas.
Mhm.
well,
A
so I
lot of
guess
cities and stuff.
So I guess the way we see it is obviously, the what we're encouraging people to do is ride on the shoulders of the road. And sort of the way that we see it is that even Western New England aside, there are already bikers that are riding on all of these roads, including Route 7. There are people that are bike commuting, there are people that are riding because they don't have a car. So I think given that folks are already riding on the roads, adding signage to help consolidate those people onto the roads that have the least amount of traffic is really, I mean, obviously you may have an outlier that's going to ride in the road and be a jerk, but historically speaking, I think that adding bike infrastructure is likely going to reduce the amount of people that are riding in the road if they feel like they have other safe options. So yeah, I can't guarantee that there aren't going to be individuals that do that sort of thing, but in general, I think if we don't have yeah, if we're not having regular problems with it now, I don't anticipate adding these signs is going to somehow increase the chances that that's going to happen.
Hannah, you had,
Just to kind of bounce off of what John said, just because I sit here for Parks and Rec and for planning, since Parks and Rec is asking us to put it in the town plan, that kind of will give public a chance to weigh in on it if you guys do put it in the town plan, because it does have to go out to like the public hearings we have to have. I forget the exact process, but the public will have a chance to weigh in. So if you guys do put it in the town plan, people will have a chance to look that over and maybe make comments.
that's gonna be, the town plan thing is gonna take some time. Is there a time factor that you're trying to work within?
Well, so we luckily, what they said was that we don't need to have this fully written in a published town plan in order to be able to move ahead with putting up signage. We really just need a sort of commitment from this committee that they will put it in when the time comes. So the money that's available is kind of this pot of money that's available for sort of early adopters that are interested in adding this signage. So the sooner we can start working with them to put up the signs, the better. And waiting may mean that we lose the opportunity to get access to that funding.
I know there's the what you call the so-called trolley path thing. It's pretty controversial for
That's not part of this.
quite a bit, and it's mentioned here in the same paragraph in Western New England Greenway. Are they affiliated, married, or?
Well, yes. So I can actually I'm actually a member of that trolley path steering committee, and I can kind of give you a little overview of kind of where we're at. So based on the public's response in Pownell, we have decided that we're no longer going to be pursuing trying to get permission to use any sections of trolley path in Pownell. Instead, we are rebranding as the Bennington Pownell Williamstown path. And in the near term, this Bennington Pownell Williamstown path is going to be following through Pownell, essentially the same route as the Western New England Greenway. So yeah, I hope we're working on kind of a little bit of a PR campaign to kind of help update folks on the status of that and try and kind of ease the tensions, because clearly that sort of pushed some buttons. So yeah, so that's the new version is basically the Western New England Greenway and the trolley path are going to be the same on-road route that won't use any sections of the existing, trolley path that private people own. Whoops. Oh, crap.
Oh, we're back.
Oh, you're back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I guess I lost you there. So I don't know exactly where you lost me, but the gist of it is that the trolley path folks are now called Bennington Pownell Williamstown Path, and they are not pursuing getting permission to use any sections of trolley path in Pownell. And instead, we are aligning with the Western New England Greenway for our Pownell section. So yeah, in some ways they're going to be one and the same in the near term, and then in the future, as we find paths that are better, add infrastructure in different places, one or both of those projects may sort of shift their route. But for the time being, we're planning on sort of promoting the same route so that we can kind of amplify that through both organizations. Whoops.
So the signage would include like, etiquette for using the town highways.
No, I mean,
Road.
the signs just will say, it'll just have a, Western New England Greenway sign and just an arrow. So, yeah, I mean, the bikers will have to follow the same laws that they follow sort of statewide for biking. But yeah, I mean, if there's some concern about etiquette, I'm happy to try and address that somehow. I mean, we could try and put something up on the town website, or we could find a place in a central location, maybe at the town park or something, and put up a sign with some sort of biking etiquette.
I'm a fan of single file, especially on our narrow roads. There's our curves and hills. People trying to make the best of a Saturday, so they're going at the speed limit. And you have a couple of guys riding side by side, or two or three side by side on the highway. It could be stressful at the least.
I don't
Well, yeah.
disagree with you, but I feel like that's beyond our purview, kind
Well,
of.
and the hope is that
Managing bike rules.
Yeah, it might be something the town could, I don't know. if you-
Yeah.
Well, that's the point that I was trying to make, is that I don't,
Signage.
I understand they're trying to get it, a yes to it and put it in the town plan. But my concern is that if it's not a feasible thing to add it to the town plan, if the community's not liking the idea, because once we put it in a town plan, that going forward, I mean, a suggestion to go forward, and then let the select board do the meetings on it and stuff like that, like we just did with the town building up here.
Yeah.
Just suggest to have meetings on it to see if it's something that, if it is, and everybody wants that, cool. We go back and add it, but once we add things like that, it's harder to take them out of it, a little harder to go back through the process again.
I can't remember specifically, but I believe I'm right that there's already stuff about safe biking in our town plan, that's a goal, is safe biking. And this is trying to do safe biking. I don't think we're adding anything different than what we already
We're
have.
also adding the signage as long
Other than
as.
sign.
Yeah.
So I don't quite understand. I mean, yes, I agree with you in terms, I want safety for sure. Everybody wants safety. There are some drivers of cars that do things that are stupid, but we can't regulate that either. But if the town plan currently says we want to encourage safe biking, and this is to encourage safe biking, then I think we're working in the same direction.
We can define it as single file.
Well, we can't legislate that, and we can't,
Until somebody gets hit by a car.
well, but that's the same as now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing to really remember, is that, there are already people riding on all of these roads, and adding these signs in will hopefully consolidate those bikers onto one path that already has a minimal amount of traffic, which means that there will be hopefully less incidents in other places in town where biking is likely less safe. So yeah, I think that adding signs will make riding safer, and that's the bottom line. And yeah, we can't control any individual biker, but showing people where the bikers are going to be, people who are driving cars. There's a million roads that folks can drive on and have a good time out here. And I think I don't hear anybody complaining about the number of bikers that are in Pownell now. And I don't think that adding these signs is really going to increase that in any noticeable way in the short term. It's just going to help show bikers that it's okay to ride in Pownell, and if they're going to do it, where those safe routes are.
So Nate, you mentioned Parks and Rec might add some signage. Might they add a sign in strategic places that say, please ride single file?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
that?
we certainly could do that. If that's something that you guys are concerned about, what they said is there's room for sort of one additional sign below the Western New England Greenway sign that we can use for kind of whatever we want. So what we were hoping to do with that space was kind of what Bennington has done with their recreation signs, like have some signs that'll point people to some points of interest for hiking or walking or bird watching or whatever, that are kind of in the vicinity of this bike route. But I'm certainly not opposed to adding, please ride single file on a small sign if that's going to make the difference. That's totally fine.
Nathan,
I think then that would make it easier for people to get used to sharing the road.
Uh-huh.
Particularly on Barbers Pond
On
Road.
our-
Yeah, that's a nasty road.
Hills and hills.
Well, you got Bear Pond on this road out here. This is so windy down through dark woods and stuff. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're not on that road.
Yeah, they do
This
that.
route doesn't on that road.
We're down.
That's where they use the bike trail. That's.
Oh, okay, but that's not the trail he's
Yeah,
talking
that's not a part of
No.
this route.
No.
Yeah, and in terms of Barber Pond Road and others, like I think making this commitment to supporting the Western New England Greenway and biking in general in Pownell will allow us to start unlocking money to make improvements on Barber Pond Road and other roads that are sort of more high stress sections of this trail by widening the road, adding bike lanes in. There's sort of a variety of things that can be done to kind of make that stuff safer for both drivers and bikers. And by supporting this effort, that'll make it easier for us to fundraise on those sort of future infrastructure improvements.
Nathan, assuming you get this grant, who would be installing these signs?
So we will have to work with the state for the signs that are on Route 7 to get those installed. Locally, there's a little more flexibility. I mean, I think we'd love to work with the road crew to put them up, but if they don't have the bandwidth to do it, we may be able to come up with volunteers to install them.
Because there may be places that are not good to put the sign where it may be blocking another sign, let's say. That's why I'm thinking that, yeah, we'd have to coordinate with the state
Yes, definitely. And
and the town.
the folks at Western New England Greenway have they have a really detailed plan for exactly where all these signs need to be and what's going to be on each one. So I'm happy to share that with you too, if that would be helpful, because that really shows sort of the full breadth of what we're trying to do here.
Okay. We lose them again?
Oh, maybe. Can you hear us, guys? Oh, well, that's too bad.
It's you and I.
Yeah. Well, yeah, oh, there they go. Oh, can you hear us?
Nathan, have you spoken to the select board yet on this issue?
No, I haven't. There was some debate as to whether this should come to the select board first or to you guys first, and we ended up deciding that since it was town plan related, it made sense to come through you all. I haven't talked with the select board about it, no.
Yeah. So as far as the immediate timeline, we don't really need to do, what do we need to do? What do you need from us tonight?
Well,
Yes.
yeah. So if you're willing to, what I'm hoping to get from you tonight is basically for you all to vote just to commit to adding some text about the Western New England Greenway into the town plan and just in general, sort of including text that's going to sort of talk about finding ways to improve bike infrastructure and walking infrastructure and signage through the safest route of panel. So yeah, that's really what it is. It's just a commitment to add Western New England Greenway and sort of encouraging outdoor recreation in Pownell to the town plan.
Which is already there.
It's already there.
Yeah, everything is there except for Western New England Greenway. That's really what it is. It's just
Well,
adding
yeah,
it.
you want to
adding
put
that
it,
in.
yeah.
They just want to have their name in there, and then once it's in there,
It's just,
And particularly given that it's already being used, whether or not we put the name in,
Right.
let's put the name in.
well,
What's the harm?
and just to reinforce, like, if we can get this done tonight, then there is money available for these signs and we won't have to fundraise for them ourselves. So there is, time is of the essence to some degree if you guys feel okay with taking that vote.
well, we could, send a letter to the select board that we heard the presentation and we discussed it and, we voted on whether,
I don't think the select board, this is about the town plan.
yeah,
That's ours.
yeah.
Until we bring it to the select board. I would make a motion that we commit to including the New England Greenway as part of our biking and walking infrastructure plan in the future town plan.
I second that.
All right, so we'll take a vote.
Yay, Jim Winchester.
Aye, Fred Miller.
Hi, John Bashy.
Hi, David Powell.
I, James Pomerlo.
Hi, Stacy Boxer.
You're there.
And there.
Thank you guys. And I just want to reinforce, I'm more than happy to work with you all about trying to sort of encourage people to ride single file on these roads. So yeah, we'll look into sort of what it'll take to sort of make up a little sign that we can add to some of these signs as they go in to help with that.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you guys. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Have fun,
Nathan.
baby. Yep.
So now we're in the brief update on municipal planning grant.
I just want to give you guys a little update on that. We were waiting for a final report from BCRC for our last MPG before we could submit for our next MPG. So Tara did get that report. She was able to submit and we're kind of just like the waiting process for that now.
So it's in process. What kind of timeline does that mean for us? Do we have any idea?
I can get you the exact date of when they're awarding it. I think it was in May, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I can email you guys the date.
Okay.
All right. That brings us to the municipal sewer question.
That was, did you still want that?
No, go ahead if
Yeah,
you
that
have
was,
something.
something that was supposed to be on the last agenda and I texted John, but I ended up publishing the agenda before John got back to me. So that doesn't need to be on there. It was just for in case. So.
Okay.
And the only other information that I had on it anyway was, we're pretty much right where we were. It's so much usage and when somebody drops off, so it didn't matter. One of the questions we had was whether a 4-unit house or this and that, if those houses were in, it still functions the same way. So it's a sewage going out, somebody drops off, they can add new ones to it. Until then, if somebody puts something in, it would have to be on its own sewage or it wouldn't be in until there was usage on it. There is still some, so they could add if there's still space currently, but when it's, depending on if you add 4-unit or 8-unit or 10 units and there was only enough for 4, you can only get 4 onto it right away.
If I recall, this was related to the zoning stuff that came from the state. And they were talking about trying to, build up in the center town and so forth.
Right.
But a lot of the way they wrote it is that you can do this kind of, a multi-unit house if you have a sewer connection.
Right. And we don't.
Since we don't, they can't do it. And that solves the problem as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if they can put in a septic tank, great.
Right.
Now, maybe down the road, we want to expand the sewer system. That's a whole can of worms. But I don't think we have an issue in terms of what the state was asking us to do, if I read it right.
Right. That's all these, you didn't get a copy of those yet because you're new to it, but there's a whole bunch of state rules that the state sent down. And after we were going through them, I read through 90% of these now. There's a lot of them that require town water or sewage.
Or both.
And since you can't be on,
So both.
we don't have all of that. We don't have any town water. There's nothing like that. So
Well, it's a fire district.
that's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's fire
private?
district.
That's fire.
Fire district.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah, fire district.
There's zero
Wow,
town water.
Interesting.
So anything if it says town water and sewer, we can't do it because we don't have to have that. If it says town sewage without the water, so you'd have your own private water, you have to look at whether they can connect or not at that point. So that would be, adding these rules in is going to depend on whether or not we think it would fall for Pownell or not. What we're going to wind up doing is sending the state a notification that says a lot of these things don't apply to Pownell. And then they'll have to exempt it from the law.
Well, it's not even exempt. We're,
NA,
Right.
There's no
We just don't
exemption
have,
required.
right.
we don't have one.
No.
But there's a lot
Unless
of,
we expand.
did you get a copy of that?
Right. Someone unless.
Get a copy of the state.
Oh, yeah.
For these two, yeah.
It just, really quick, I just looked it up and it says the board announcements for the MPG are in April, but it doesn't give a specific date.
Okay, but that's good. We'll be able to get a handle on what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them in there that,
It's
you read through them, you'll see that there's a lot of,
NAs. Yeah.
so, and that's gonna be our challenge, I think. That's gonna be our biggest challenge is what doesn't work and what doesn't. Because originally our orders to go forward were get these rules into our town plan, but based off the way they're written, I don't see many of them. I mean, there's quite a few that are gonna go in, but,
Well, town plan is one thing. This is zoning,
well,
right?
I mean, yeah, in the bylaws.
And the zoning will write the same thing.
Right.
Right.
And that means that you can't do a multifamily unless you have sewer and water. So we can basically copy that stuff right in and it's
Right.
not going to change anything.
Right, it'll change based off of what we currently have. If we have something that doesn't even relate to it, then
What do you have
it's
it
gonna
won't
change
change.
it's gonna change our thing.
as a DRB member? If somebody wanted to do a two-family house,
Mhm.
you still have that.
Yeah, most of those I think we have a lot of different ones that sections and stuff we had to go through to approve a permit for something like that. But it's still gonna based off of, right now, it's, do they have septic? Do they have water?
Right.
As I think me and Jimmy are always in the same boat. Do they have that? Has that been done? Before it ever comes to us anyway, that's typically done.
Yeah.
So the state would have approval of all that stuff first, and then we would be approving it based on, did he get approval?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we usually do it. So, and if they come to it, the paperwork's usually all there, so we can just go, okay, he's got a state permit for that, he's got a state permit for that. Okay, cool. He meets the criteria of the rest of the stuff. The setbacks are all good.
Yeah.
We're good with it. But we've had a couple that come and here's the paperwork and it's like, okay, do you have this? Oh, no, I didn't get that yet. And I was a little bit ahead of schedule here, we got to go back and get all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, we sort them out pretty good. Mike sorts them out at the beginning
Right.
for most part. Most of it's in place before it ever gets to us for that. And Mike's sorted out saying it's got to be go to the board or it doesn't have to go to the board. So most of those are done. So
It's a mess.
So, our next item is, town plan continued discussion. How far along?
we're still starting.
We're still talking.
We're starting.
I read the old one. That was a step.
So, yeah, so we had discussion, since you're back on, you're new to it, we've had discussion. I think what we should really schedule is, the next meeting, I would say, to go over that, what we've already discussed, and then that'll get everybody caught up. You know what I mean? Go back over all that back information.
Yeah.
Because right now you guys are coming into it after we've already had a lot of discussion, but we haven't written anything yet.
Yeah.
But we've had some discussion. We've met with BCRC, got information from them. So I think going back over all that, get everybody back to a, next, even in the next couple meetings.
Did you talk about having physical copies of the?
You can get them, yes. I have one. Yeah,
They're on the website too.
Yeah, they're on the site too.
And we,
Hannah, you got more copies of those
The town plan.
town plans?
We have a couple here, but we can print more.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm wondering if we're working on it, reviewing sections. Same notes, same marginal notes.
Yeah.
like,
They're working, some working like online.
Right. I don't think there's gonna be like a lot of have to come out or anything. I think it's just more of clip and paste, put some stuff in that would. Maybe some
Things have
verbiage.
changed since that one was done.
Mhm.
That was done in 2019, I think.
Yes.
right? And
And that was 87 pages taken out. So that was huge back then.
Yeah.
Again, I think that my feeling on it anyway, me personally, I think there's not gonna be a lot of takeout. There's gonna be more add a little section to it. So if this law works, add that law, just clip and paste basically, to put it on.
Yeah.
I know we talked, when Brian was here, he was mentioning, more business friendly stuff. So write a section into the plan that makes it more business friendly. That's what one of the things he mentioned. So I think that's just verbiage, how we're gonna write it and where we stick it in at. That's our biggest thing.
seems to me we've had some general, very broad conversations. We haven't actually started
Right.
any work. What I'd love, just because of the way I work, and I don't know if this works for the rest of you, is figure out a plan. Maybe we're doing this section this month and this
Right.
section the next month. And if we laid out kind of a plan, which we may or may not entirely follow, things get in the way, whatever, but then we could focus rather than on the whole plan. I'll focus on this plan for the next meeting. I can come prepared
Right.
with my ideas, because otherwise we're all over the
You're
place.
reading the whole thing and you're reading.
It's too much.
5, he's on section
Right.
6.
Right.
Right.
So if we could agree on a schedule of what sections we're going to do, then we could be, I think, a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
You gotta start down with water and septic, down in the valley, because you don't have any water up here, really. It seems like that's the place to start, because you have water and septic there, even though it's the fire department's water.
Small section.
Yeah, I don't know if that,
You can put it in the trailer park,
yeah.
and that's whatever it is, that's the only new places really put water in. And,
I mean, one of the things I was thinking is kind of based off what you were just saying. I was thinking if we break down, like say the first page of this and we all sit and just read them, we can do it right here at the meeting. Go through and go, okay, this one we can put in, this one we can.
I'm
and break
confused
them out.
because this is zoning, not
This is-
planning.
These are for the bylaws. So the plan is going to be the easier part. So that's just verbiage.
Okay, but I mean,
So-
that's two different things. We have bylaws and we have the town plan, right? So I'm just trying to get clear on
Right.
what we're working on here.
Right.
Because if we want to jump into this, we were told to drop this because we had to do a
Right.
town plan first.
I just,
So we shouldn't even be working on this if I
Right, this
understand
is-
it
I
right.
think the town plan informs the bylaws.
right.
Right.
So you want to get the town plan dealt with
Right.
first.
My thinking was if we looked at some of these things though, that would give us what we're gonna put into the town plan. Because we need to know kind of the verbiage that we're gonna put into that. So make sure that's all written towards these are the new rules.
Now you can do your bylaws.
Bylaws will come after,
Do your planning, off of that.
because we need to
Yeah, I
know.
thought we were told we had to do it the other way around.
Well, no, the
Plan first.
the plan will come first and then the bylaws.
Then you schedule. your-
What I'm saying is see what we could go through these and see what we need for the verbiage to put in a town plan.
Okay.
We need to know, we need
I
to know
don't
what
fully
we're gonna write.
understand, but I'm willing, I'm new here.
Yeah.
oh, no, it's just a lot of it's NA, not applicable,
Some of these are, that's why I was saying if we break that down.
break them down,
I think-
NA, don't mess with them anymore.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just thinking if we gotta know. I don't know what we're gonna write to the town plan. Get to the next level.
When the
Is
state,
it just write new town law, new laws and leave it at that, or?
when the state sent that to us, was that, did they say that this is for bylaws that
Yeah.
Yeah.
you need to insert this in your bylaws?
Right.
They did not say you have to insert it into the town plan.
Well, the town plan is just
But
verbiage
if
of what we're
something in
going.
the town plan
Right,
is in a way of doing that, then
They sent this out to every town in the state.
right. We're supposed to change it to make these laws right.
They don't
We
fit.
can't make this right because we don't have the infrastructure to make these right.
they don't specifically call for an edit of the town plan
No,
around that.
no, not around this, no.
My understanding is the
But we
town
have to have
plan
rules in.
is goals and directions,
Right.
Yeah,
not specific. Now, if the goals and directions are different than what the state is saying, we got a problem, but I don't think they are.
Right.
So, but
They're just saying-
we need to do both and
yeah, yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. These laws need to be put into our bylaws. But I don't know what verbiage we need to write, if we need to write any, just to make and meet the needs of the state.
And it sounded like that was something we should have done 6 months ago or something, but whatever. And then I have to go back and look at the minutes, but I remember clearly we were said we got to put this aside
To
and do the town plan.
Just because the town plan was coming up.
So I don't want to necessarily bring this up if we have to do the town plan first, but now I'm not clear. So
Right.
Is there a date deadline on incorporating them into the bylaws
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Right. It's 2023 is when I did them.
Yeah, and they've changed the law up there.
Right.
They've changed things.
That's what's crazy.
That's crazy.
I said the same thing. I'm like, those are 2 years ago, well, when we got them, it was a year and a half. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but my only point was that I want to make sure that if we're going to write something in our town plan, what do we have to write in there that makes these, because the town plan dictates what we're going to write in our bylaws. And if, we're going on that theory. So is it, again, I'll say it this way, it might help clarify it. So we're talking, like Brian said, more business friendly. So to build that structure, if we're putting more business friendly in our plan, we want to make sure that when we go to the bylaws, that structure from the town plan that we're trying to push forward is going to fit those things. So how we put verbiage in here is going to dictate what it goes into the next one.
And I think there's a section in the town plan about business development, and there's a
Yeah.
section in the town plan about residential development.
Right.
And that's when we'd be referring to it.
Right.
So I think we could take, whatever the first section, I don't remember, let's do that first.
Right.
I mean,
And as far as the
rather than
plan,
jump around.
we might not need to update much.
Right.
We might not have to, we just got to make sure that if we're going to put it in, that something is there, if we have to have it. And if we go, oh, we'll read through it and go, that sounds all right, like it is, good. We'll leave it. We don't have to change that part. So, I mean, the plan is first though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
When I pulled the plan out, and this is kind of neither here nor there, but, I read the however many pages it is, and it seemed to go through all kinds of verbiage and data and do, and then finally we get to, here's what we recommend. And then we get a whole nother set of verbiage and blah, blah, blah. If I was writing the plan, I'd like to see, here's what we recommend, and then reference to, in appendixes, all the other stuff that kind of led us to that. So that somebody can pick it up and say, oh, this is what they want to do with this, and this is what they want to do with this. Because right now it's hard to find stuff.
Right. I agree.
So that's just kind of an overall
Thing is,
design, I think.
That was designed based on
The state,
requirements from the state.
the state did it.
Can't put it, reference appendix A.
And BCR helped us do all that back
Yeah.
then too. They
Okay.
took and wrote it and then we went through.
I'm not going to fight City Hall.
Yeah.
I just thought it wasn't the easiest document for me.
Well, I had those issues back then too, when we were going through it, because that's basically what happened when they took the town plan. They go, BCRC came in, they took it and they went, okay, these are the sections that are coming out. We don't need those anymore based off state rules and laws current.
But it is,
That came out of it and I said, this is what's left. And they had it highlighted.
Yeah.
And we just go, okay, yeah, that sounds all right. And
No.
everybody agree? Okay, we all agree around the table. That's pretty much how it happened.
Right.
So we could kind of lean it towards them to, if they're gonna help us do it.
I can ask them about
Right.
the organization.
Right.
You
I mean,
know,
they said
and
they were
I'm
gonna
not
come
gonna,
back and they had time to
they
help.
were pros at it, for God's sakes. It's what they do for a living, but that's what they wanted and that's what they got.
Right.
And I worked with them.
So now it's just, I mean, we can sit down and not have to have BCRC. We can sit down and just read through it, take one section at a time.
so maybe
Start at
if,
one and go through it. It doesn't
if at the
sound-
next meeting, we come with our plans and we can say what order we're doing things, and maybe there's reason we'd want to attend to the, you know, the zoning and the business development and the whatever first, that's fine. I don't care.
Mhm.
But it'd be nice to help us focus so we can be efficient.
Sounds good.
So we're gonna be familiar with, the introduction or the chapter one or what?
I would say chapter one, introduction, probably not.
Be
gonna
familiar
change
with
much.
it, read up on it a little bit
Yeah.
ahead of
Yeah,
time.
just to kind of brief it. If it's anybody finds something they think is something to question, we'll just question it.
Or maybe it's just, you know, bringing it and we're going to set up what order we're doing it in. If we accomplish that at a meeting, that might be a good accomplishment. I don't know.
Okay.
It'll be interesting because we'll go off and
Yeah.
Yep.
we don't have septic town-wise and we don't have water town-wise. So it's a hell of a thing to do. And, you know, if somebody wants to do it, go before the DRB and get a permit.
That's pretty much what it is now.
That's what it amounts to. DRB is going to pass, you know, what they do.
Yeah, and that was.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Darcy said that we can't add anything to the sewage system in the town,
Pretty much.
or it would cost too much to add?
Yeah.
No, the capacity, we're near capacity now. We could enlarge capacity, but that would cost a lot of money.
What's a lot of money? I mean, what
I
if
don't know.
what if some big corporation wants to come in?
Well, that's it. If Microsoft wants to build a warehouse, we'll do something. But
What if
until then-
Amazon wants to build a warehouse here
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're willing to pay? How much more would it cost to increase the capacity?
Well,
Well,
I
it
think.
depends how much your capacity you're increasing it. So, you know,
Right.
included to do capacity
Right.
back then. It's out now.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
and then up here, this place up there was, going to be some trailers, which they're not doing anymore.
Mhm.
Sewage
Is
went
the
to them.
dollar, is the dollar store on sewage?
The what?
The
dollar store.
store?
Yeah, dollar stores, yeah.
Okay.
All the way over to Royal Pine Villa.
Royal Palm Villa was going to be the place
That's
that would take the trailer park flooding out, they'd go there. That was Nelson Brown House.
We're
Master
talking
plan.
about being business friendly, but then we can't offer everybody, sewage.
No, we
town
can't.
Sewage.
Right.
No, we can't.
Not currently. But like I think another answer for that is yes, we could offer it. We just don't have a number to what it would take until we know what their usage would be. So if they came in, if a business wanted to come in, a study would have to be done for the business. They would do a state study on it that shows how many people that they're going to have, how many they expect to have for workers, what the usage of the system would be then, depending on the business. And then that usage would go to Darcy, and she would say, well, we can't put that usage on without this. And then she could at that point, put a cost together to update. This is what it would cost to update.
But the problem with that is if you're trying to be business friendly, it's got to already be there.
It's got to
They're not going to take
I
the
know.
time to
Right.
do all this.
Right.
So, I mean, this is something we need to wrestle with is like, do we want in the 10-year plan to expand the septic system? Would that be something we think is worth
Right.
putting a priority on? And we can get some rough numbers without saying how much it should be
Right.
expanded or anything.
I would
Right.
like to know,
How many is based
I would
off
like to
usage.
know what the number is.
Well, again,
It would,
there's no there's no single number. It depends what you're trying to do and we don't know what we need. So
If we say we want 100 more or 200 more, then that's what we could shoot for. Then they could get a better number, but we have to know what we're going to shoot for.
well, I think we can spitball a number and get a cost for that. And that may or may not be a reasonable, feasible thing. Right now, there's not a lot of money out there like there once was. So, you know,
Mhm. I mean, businesses can still come depending on what they are.
Right.
They just haven't have enough space to put their own system in currently.
right. But I imagine what Brian was talking about was trying to get the infrastructure there to make it easier for them to come in because they're not going to wait around for 2 years while we expand our septic system
Right.
or our sewer system, I should say.
I mean, but a lot of places that do come in, I mean, these got on like Dollar General because that was going to the trailer park up there. So if
Right.
anything went by it, they could hook.
Yeah.
But if somebody came in and there's enough space, then they could absolutely just
Well,
put
the
a system.
tag sale land is available, right?
Well, next to me, there's 10 acres of land for sale, and they can have septic because I have it
Right.
and the motel has it. So that puts septic on that side of the road. If somebody buys that and wants to do something with it, they can have septic, but they can't have water. But they can have water because I got water also at my store.
Yeah.
So I got 3 waters at my store.
Yeah. They can get water if they have to.
They just have to drill a well.
Yeah, I know, but that's easier if you got it.
Mhm.
And, haven't seen any bites on that property, but, hey, let's hope.
Mhm.
That's the only good piece of property around really outside of,
Tag sale.
that's come up for sale. No, it's come up for sale.
That and-
It's all small.
Yeah, it's for sale.
Got it up for commercial.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was our other thing. We gotta expand our area for it. We don't currently, I don't think there's enough area for it. That's why we had gone through and looked at industrial land.
Well, and that's why the
It was taken out
BCRC
before.
plan with that, Superfund site or whatever the heck it is,
Whatever it is, super fun.
that would make it.
Well, yeah, that would have been nice,
Yeah.
but it's about money now.
Right. All gonna be about it.
Yeah.
It would be something that the VCRC mentioned in the report. They mentioned like a senior housing complex.
Yeah, that's,
Something like that.
it's a nice idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It happens in other towns, though.
Well, you need a lot of land.
If anything, you guys should.
We all have stuff
Yeah, what they got.
that's why you gotta be business friendly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
To build towards that.
Yeah,
That's like the third
I
thing
was
that
I was
comes.
just mentioning that for like, just to get an idea of how much of a septic system expansion
Right.
it would require for something like that.
That'd be an interesting question. If we expanded it by, 30%, and then in 5 years, we wanted to do another 30, have we spent too much money to do it or?
you can build on that, but say Energizer in Bennington, now that's for sale, okay? And they want to put in, but they got the water and the septic,
Right,
but they're gonna add it's gotta add to it.
yeah,
370 apartment, I mean.
Right.
People can move in
a lot more,
So, it's just sitting,
So like a 20 or 30 unit, senior housing thing. Would be
Yeah.
maybe a couple
couple,
per unit, couple of people per
Mhm.
unit. How, calculate how much of a expansion to the septic system you would need for something like that.
right.
yeah, we can imagine
Yeah.
one or two
That's
scenarios.
what I'm talking, is just imagine.
Yeah,
yeah, imagine.
one or two semi-reasonable scenarios and get a price tag.
Well, it's 7 million down to 4 million, so it might go.
Yeah.
That's my idea.
Yeah, either way, we're talking millions to expand.
Oh, yeah. No, we have to
I can
get,
tell you that number.
Is the racetrack on the system?
No,
No.
no.
It's too far down?
Well, the railroad kind of kills it. You gotta deal with the railroad. You gotta pay them. And, otherwise you lose a good north end.
Mhm.
And they say the state owns some of the north end because somebody's dumping some stuff down there. I wish it would get picked up, but it's not gonna happen, I don't think. But the state says they own a right of way in there, but only to the railroad track. So
State owns,
But I couldn't figure that one out because
I
the
couldn't figure that out either.
ball field's been down there for,
But Tejan's were going to give you the ball field.
yeah.
The ball field was given to the town
Yeah.
by Tejan's.
isn't the right of way up,
Usually take.
go down
They didn't take it.
and then going that way, there's a road that goes down in by,
It's an old, it's an old.
It's an old pathway that was.
yeah, that's not the right of way they're talking about?
No.
Okay, I don't know.
No,
No,
Below
when you
Green
going down, when you go down past Jimmy's store right there,
Mhm.
when you go down past that, you got that first road that cuts.
Yeah, yeah, the old
That-
no,
entrance.
not the entrance, yeah.
Yeah, where they got the big stones up in front of
That's,
us, yeah.
that's where the right of way is over. You have to get the right of way from the railroad.
That was never there. They built it for the track.
Right.
The railroad, built it for the tracks. And that was Boston, Maine. That was, they were Boston people and they got along good with them and they paid them and whatever. And then it changed to Pan Am and then now it's Pan Am. And now it's whatever. Anyway, it's dead. It's
So do
dead.
we have a plan for the next meeting? Or homework?
The plan is to make look at the plan and the sections and come,
I would say section one,
start with section one, why not?
we'll go to that.
If you want to read the introduction, you get a feel for it, you can, and go and be familiar with section one. We'll discuss section one.
Section 1 and
Sounds good.
that's those, we can go through that thing like nothing.
I love your attitude, that's it.
I've read it.
Okay, yeah.
Throw it down, like, it's ridiculous.
All good.
Probably 2 years down the road and they've made more changes up there than you could take a stick at.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's given every town in the goddamn state. We don't fit in there at all. I looked at it. And, it's frustrating. Yeah.
We got our own.
We're
set of
all
stuff.
special.
Yeah. You got our own stuff going on.
So it's 7 o'clock.
So,
Do we have a date?
yeah, Stacy?
Date for
Do we have a
that.
date for the next meeting?
2 weeks.
I don't think days comes.
You want 2 weeks or? You guys have been meeting every 2 weeks?
The 29th?
No, we have.
It's supposed to be first and third, that's how our.
Yeah, first,
schedule
third.
works, So, May 6th would be your next
May
meeting.
6th?
6.
Okay.
And we can go back, we didn't have regular meetings in March and beginning of April because of the organization, so.
Yeah.
We go back to the first and third.
May 6th?
Yeah.
All right.
May 6th.
Yep, we have to be 6.
No,
6 and the 20th.
Hannah?
6th is my birthday. I'm not gonna be there.
I think it's just background noise on Stacy's.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Do I need to work with you, Hannah, on the agendas?
Yeah, you just send
Touch
it.
base with you?
And a resident had a suggestion for select board, I don't know if you guys want to do it, but just discussing agenda items for the next meeting at this meeting.
At this meeting,
At the
yeah.
present meeting for the next meeting, so if you
Okay.
guys want to do
So
that.
we have the one thing on the agenda,
Yeah.
well, we got the minutes that has to be approved.
Yeah, so redo the minutes.
It seems like it's section one and then planning the future sections or the order if there's any reason we want to take something out of order.
And if I hear anything from Tara about the municipal planning grant, I'll just add that. to
Yeah,
it.
and, yeah.
Sounds like an
We can always
agenda.
add something up until, 2 or 3 days before the meeting,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
if something comes up.
Usually I post it the Friday before,
yeah, and just send it out to her, whatever we have.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're started with that. That brings us up to public comment. Do we have any public comment?
nobody else is in right now.
Good.
So, okay, anybody here want to make a public comment? Okay.
Welcome new members.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, welcome new members. Yeah.
Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
all right.
Good night.
Yeah, thank you.